too long. I'm going to guess you want to talk Carolina Duke next because we're doing these in the way that they were played, the order they were played on Saturday. So Carolina Duke, among the top 10 matchups, of course. Carolina wins 93-84. And as we get into this, I'll also note this. Tremendous matchups. Like Purdue, Wisconsin was good, but not like, crazy good. Kansas, Houston, a little bit of a laugh. For UNC Duke was competitive, and it was good. And we're going to get to Tennessee, Kentucky. But none of the games actually met the hype, which is unfortunate. But nonetheless, no shortage of things to talk about there. I said on the show Friday, Bacot had to be the best player on the floor, and damn, he was. Now, Harrison Ingram was also tremendous, GP, but Bacot, it was his first game of his prestigious Carolina career where he had 25 points, 10 rebounds, and 5 assists. He also did it on 10 of 13 shooting, and this after having 3 straight games where he couldn't even crack 10 points in the scoring column, GP. It was only the 6th time this season he led UNC in scoring. I just felt like someone with the presence he carries on that team, and he's not the most vocal guy on the roster, but for what he is and who he is and what he can do, I thought it was really, really important. And there's a few talking points I want to get to, but to me, it was Bacot leading the way, and then Harrison Ingram. I mean, he hit 5 threes, had 21 points, 13 rebounds, 4 steals. I mean, it didn't like RJ Davis had a couple of timely shots that went in, but Ingram having a 21-13 game, Parrish, and it was his second career double-double in which he got to 20 points. Season high, obviously, getting 21 here for UNC. Big-time stuff in a really good rivalry game. But again, Duke made it interesting. But I don't know. I don't think I at any point thought, all right, I can see a way in which Duke's going to carve out an upset here. I just thought that it was Carolina's night, and while I was, locked in for the whole thing, Tar Heels set the pace, and they were able to get it done. And I'll note, they got it done despite not having a vintagely great defensive night. Duke scored at more than 1 point per possession on the evening. That's not a lot. That's something not a lot of teams have done, GP. And UNC was more than willing to kind of tap into its old school ways and make it a race, and they won that race, winning 93-84.
I had a night around the house on Saturday, wrote a column off of Carolina Duke. I led it with Armando Bacot. Like you mentioned, 25 and 10. Those are numbers that if he'd have had them at any point last season or even maybe the season before, you don't even really blink. It almost feels like a 25 and 10 from Zach Edey.
Yeah.
But that was his first 25 and 10 in nearly 3 months. I sort of led the column this way. It's been a secondary story, if a story at all, because North Carolina's great. RJ Davis is an All-American. Things are good in Chapel Hill. So we haven't spent much time asking what's wrong in Chapel Hill, because everything's good in Chapel Hill. But Armando Bacot has had a disappointing season, not from a team success perspective, but individually, points down, rebounds down, field goal percentage down. I wouldn't have expected that. When Caleb Love leaves Carolina, Armando Bacot's stats go south. I wouldn't have assumed that, but that's where we are. But he is still capable of going out and getting, big numbers like that. And it was nice to see him. It was nice to see him have that night, because even if, it's not leading SportsCenter every night, what's wrong with Armando Bacot? The way it might be if, say, Nikola Jokic were struggling, but Armando Bacot was number 2 on our list of top 101 college basketball players heading into the season, behind only Zach Edey. Now, if you want to argue that was always wrong, I'll listen to you. But it was he was always going to be in everybody's top 5. So we're really only arguing about
it was
2.
Based on him being a stat monster and him being, I thought he'd clear 20 and 10 averages this season.
Yeah. So it hasn't been. So even if it hasn't been leading SportsCenter, I guarantee you Armando Bacot is very aware that his 5th season of college basketball isn't, from an individual perspective, is not as statistically strong as some other seasons. And so for him to have that night, massive. And then for Carolina to handle Duke with very little issue, while RJ Davis wasn't spectacular, also encouraging. I might be ready to say the same thing about Carolina that I said earlier about Purdue and UConn. There are other good teams. Well, I'm not sure how many other good teams there are in the ACC, but let's call Duke a good one. Let's call Duke a good one. And yes. Carolina looks like it's clearly the best team in the ACC. And I'll say this, and then I'll turn it back over to you. I was watching you on HQ on Saturday night, and I thought you had it right. You made a point to emphasize Duke is good, but you chose that word. They're good. They're not great. They're just good. Right now, 5-5 in the first 2 quadrants, 4 quadrant 1 wins, 3 losses in quadrant 2. They've never been high, and this maybe sort of highlights the good, not great. They've never been higher than 13th in the net. They're now 14th at Ken Pom. I've got them 15th in the top 25 and 1. This is a great roster, but right now it's more of a good team than a great team.
Yeah, it's good. If you call them pretty good, I think that's fair. I don't even in the micro, like Tyrese Proctor, he coming into the game, past 5 games, 16.5 points, 2.5 rebounds, 2.5 assists, shooting 50% from the field and 48.4% from 3-point range. That was Tyrese Proctor the 5 preceding games. And then he laid an egg. And it's not the end of the world. It's fine. Duke's got some good contributions elsewhere. They had what? They had 3 guys hit 20 points in this game, and that's a function, obviously, of getting to 80 overall. But Carolina has been the better team this season, and it's had the better defense there. And yeah, if Duke had won, that certainly would have been quite intriguing. And to get to that level of can Duke be great, like you got to go in and win at Carolina. Duke didn't do that, and they were competitive, and they get the return. Just like every top 10 matchup we have here, I'm almost positive. All 10, I think all these are return games the final week of the regular season. So this is
true. I saw Fran Fraschilla point that out. All 8 of these teams that played each other this weekend will play each other again on the final weekend of the regular season, and it actually breaks down exactly the same. Carolina Duke on Saturday, Kentucky Tennessee on Saturday. What's the other one I'm missing? Kansas Houston on Saturday, right. And then Purdue Wisconsin on Sunday. Same thing.
It'll be a Sunday CBS game. Okay, so we're not going on a limb to say that the results are not going to all go the same way again. Like at least one, probably 2.
Oh, they'll probably all go the opposite way.
We could flip it and reverse it.
They probably won't. That's not right, but you get the point.
Yeah, I know. You never know. But so, we're not going to sit here and overreact to a single result on a single day, but try and give you at least a perspective. No, let's not. Let's try not to give perspective on what we saw here in the game and then how it reflects on what the teams have done so far. And Duke beating Carolina at Cameron in 6 weeks from now, 5 weeks from now, definitely on the table. Wouldn't surprise me. I'll probably pick Duke to win the game when we get to that for the Final 4 and 1 leading on that Friday show. But here, Duke allowed 45 points against UNC most this season. It faced its largest halftime deficit of the season, 10 points. Its largest overall deficit in a game, 15 points. This was Shires. He's just started the job. It was his first loss to Carolina, by the way, as well as a head coach. And how about Hubert Davis? He's 7-5 all time now when he has to coach against a top 10 team in the AP Top 25 poll. This is 3rd season as a coach. He's doing okay. It's been bumpy. It's been noisy. Fans have made a racket, but stay in the course here and not had the graphic up on the screen. Carolina is going to be a 1 or 2 seed, folks, because I'll knock on wood, I guess, if you're a UNC fan. The 4 most recent instances, or the 3 most recent instances of this happening, them getting to 10-1 or better in ACC play, all ended with them on the 1 line or the 2 line. And that happened in 01, 98, and 87. And when you look at what it's accomplished now, if it dodges the landmines in the league, mark UNC down for getting a high seed and a good season of redemption for the Tar Heels. What they do in the tournament, it's a different conversation altogether. To this point, they are getting it done. And if you're a UNC fan, I got to figure you're happy with the fact, like, you probably wish you could have held Duke under 75 in your building, and I get that. But you don't need RJ Davis to be a top 2 player on the floor to beat Duke. I think that's a pretty good development. Like, even like Cormac Ryan hitting the big corner 3 after it must have been Ingram that saved the ball, made the play, and they saved it at half court. Cadeau kicked it around. Like, there were just moments in that game where it was like, yeah, they got something good going here, and clearly just established themselves. Now they have a 2-game lead with the ACC Ledger, and everyone's staring up at the Tar Heels.